You don't have a mic? I hope everybody has picked up all the handouts here. They all have to do with the meeting.
Trying to talk.
Okay. I don't know where the rest of the council is, but I guess we have to wait for them to get here. But I have one of those. I've just been told that I have to alter that we're not going to have the comment period at the beginning, so let me get started here.
I'll have another meeting without you.
Is Reverend Clark here? Well, I guess we have to wait because.
Well, we can say a few appropriate words, right? Okay. Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Officers, Public Servants, Citizens of Rising Sun. I am Pastor Gil Clark, and it's my pleasure on behalf of James United Methodist Church to welcome you as we host this town meeting of Rising Sun. Now, I'm new to these environs, and 2 weeks ago was my first time I met many of you at our town hall 2 weeks ago. And I discovered that the conducting of the people's business can be at times very passionate and maybe even a little raucous. Nothing wrong with being raucous or passionate within reason and borders. So let me just say this. If you all agree that we leave this place standing tonight and all the chairs aren't broken over one another's heads, I will have the privilege and the opportunity to welcome you back for future meetings. But in all seriousness, can I ask that we would just stand for a moment of silence? Let us share a moment of silence in memory and appreciation for all of those public servants and citizens who have gone before us, and for our sisters and brothers who serve us in the military services. We have gathered here tonight for the purpose of doing the people's business. Those who serve and those who are served are gathered here now for this purpose and this purpose alone. Therefore, and thus gathered, let us reflect upon and strive for the following: collaboration, cooperation, consensus, community, and the common good. Hear, hear, aye, aye, so be it. Thank you.
they don't have any microphones, so they're gonna do.
I call this meeting to order, and since we have all the commissioners present, I believe. Okay, can I have the pledge of allegiance?
Of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, it has invitation, and so we need to approve the minutes. Has everybody read the minutes of the last meeting? Are there any comments, changes?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we approve the minutes as presented.
I second that motion.
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes as written. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The ayes have it. So that's taken care of. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, did I miss one? Is that okay?
Do you have any more copies of the agenda?
Yeah.
Well, it looks like the agenda has been changed, really, from what I, so we have a different, okay. You don't have- We can move that at the next meeting. I think, is that correct? No, executive session, so, okay.
Calvin gives a report on what
Okay.
topics we covered, and then we say we either did that or we didn't.
Okay.
July 24th, 2012.
I don't think the people in the back can hear. You're gonna have to project well to be heard. Can you hear me, Mr. Majeski? Okay. How about Calvin? Can you hear him?
July 24th, 2012, at 5:00 p.m. on the second floor of the town hall, the mayor and commissioners met in executive session as provided for by the Mayoral Open Meetings Act. A motion was made by Commissioner Osborne, seconded by Commissioner Norton, to go into executive session. Members in attendance were the Mayor Robert A. Fisher, Commissioner Charles Berkowitz, Commissioner Travis Marion, Commissioner Stephen Norton, Commissioner Joanne Osborne. The 4 commissioners voted in favor of going into executive session. The reason for going into executive session is provided for by the Mayoral Open Meetings Act was number 1, to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom it has jurisdiction, or any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals. The second reason for the executive session was as provided for by item number 7 in the Mayoral Open Meetings Act, which is to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice. The third reason, as provided for under the Mayoral Open Meetings Act, item number 8, is to consult with staff, consultants, or other individuals about pending or potential litigation. The topics discussed at this meeting were 1, an update on the town's financial obligations related to the sewer and water projects. Number 2 was to bring the incoming board up to date also on the MDE consent order. Number 3 was to get an update on the legal standing of the Frackle lawsuit, and the 4th item was for a personnel issue. The persons present at the closed session were Calvin A. Bonneberger Jr., the town administrator, Jay Gullo, the town attorney, Richard Colorisi, the town insurance attorney, Kimberly Min, the town bond counsel, and police chief Francis Peterson. The actions taken at executive session. A motion was made by Commissioner Osborne, seconded by Commissioner Marion, at the request of the town administrator, to have all meetings between the town administrator and mayor to be reported for a second person in attendance. The second, and that motion passed 4-0. The second motion was a motion made by Commissioner Berkowitz, seconded by Commissioner Osborne, that no communication shall be made to MDE, USDA, engineers, contractors, consultants, or Frackle related to the water or sewer project. All communication shall go through the sewer and water project manager. And that motion passed 4-0. A motion was made by Commissioner Osborne, seconded by Commissioner Norton, to adjourn the meeting. The meeting adjourned at 7:25 p.m.
Make a motion to approve the, we have to approve them.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the executive meeting of July 24th, 2012.
Can you speak up, please?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the executive meeting of July 24th, 2012.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Ayes have it. Okay. This is a brand new agenda. Well, we had an agenda set, but it's altered since this afternoon. Okay. It says the presentation of ordinances and resolution. And it's a confirmation of ordinance 20-1203, administrative structure.
I make a motion that we approve ordinance number 2012-03 as read in last week's meeting.
You all have a or can have a copy of that through there on that table or that here. All in favor, say aye. We have a second?
I'll second, but I, we have to discuss it.
You know, oh, I thought you, okay. discussion.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I was confused, which?
Maybe I'm reading the wrong one.
I got the right one.
So don't we have to read it?
We read it last time.
It was read last week.
Well, don't we have to read it every time?
No.
Well,
Oh,
maybe
okay.
people weren't here last time, they're here now.
Please don't.
But, no, it's too long. You can read it there.
Oh, yeah, they have copies, right?
Yeah, they have a copy.
Thank you.
so-
Yeah.
Okay. So do I have approval to dispense with the reading of that resolution?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, I've got the right thing now, sir. Thank you. I was on the wrong document.
All right. Any further discussion? None.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
I believe Calvin said that this one was going to be explained to the audience a little bit.
Speak up, please.
I had hoped to explain that to the audience better, but some of the board members felt that that wasn't the appropriate procedure, so
Wait a second. Now,
That's discussion.
it was told to me by the town administrator that this was going to be explained to the audience.
that was in the original.
No, I was just told this the other day. So, somebody going to explain it to the audience?
Okay. Does anybody care to explain to the audience why they think this is a good thing?
It's going by the way.
Well, don't we have a volume control? You want to hear? That's still too high, Tom. You know, I swear this is an education for me. Boy, I didn't expect this. Okay, would anybody care to explain why they think this is necessary?
One of my major goals after being elected and reading our charter was to bring some order to our charter. Pardon me?
Can't hear it.
Oh, okay.
We're close to that.
When I was elected, and after I read the charter, one of the goals of being in office was to make the charter say how we actually run business. It's putting the duties of each individual in one spot so that they can go to the ordinances and say, this is what I'm supposed to do, and not have to go through 15 paragraphs before there's another, oh yeah, that's what you're supposed to do too, and go through another 15 paragraphs and say, oh yeah, there's another one of my job descriptions there. We tried to make the job descriptions of the commissioners and the mayor match the way we actually do business in the town, and we tried to define what the town administrator does, and a resolution had been passed, and his job description had been defined before Mr. Bonenberger was hired, so it's not defining Mr. Bonenberger, it's defining the job that we were looking for a person to do. And it needed to be part of our charter because that's what we expect of a town administrator, not just Mr. Bonenberger. We expect that from any town administrator that we hire. And we hire a town administrator because, quite frankly, not every mayor is going to be retired and able to spend 90% of their daily time in the town hall. We needed descriptions of what each of us were responsible for and responsible to our constituents for. And that was the goal of the ordinance and to make our charter more user-friendly so we don't have to look all over the place for what we're supposed to be finding. That's my take on it. Thank you.
I remind you that this is an ordinance, not a charter. And a charter requires a 40-day waiting period before it can be enacted and it's subject to a referendum. So that, it appears to me that this was an effort to circumvent the rules regarding charters.
Oh, thank you. I wasn't going to comment, but since I've got the mic, Ms. Osborne, thank you for the work you put into this ordinance, and it's been said before, I'll say it again. What this ordinance is trying, in my view, to achieve is to simply bring the way we're already doing business in the town in 2012 into compliance with the ordinance says, so we're not doing two different things. The ordinance says one thing, and the way we do business says another. This is trying to bring all that, streamline all that, and recognize that we do business differently than we did 15 or 20 years ago.
But I remind you to look at the minutes, the sheet that says the minutes of the May 8th meeting, and I'll quote, "Tonight I wish to introduce another layer of this evolution of government. Mr. Mumey explained the definition of council-managed form of government, defining the role of the appointed manager and the various staff positions that oversee the administrative operations of the town. Also adding that these professionals implement policies of the board and advises the board of progress and status of these functions." So the origin of this way of doing business is the 8th of May, 2012. Not this is the way we've been doing business all these years.
I'll respond to that, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. While Mr. Mumey is here tonight, he is not currently on the board that sits here before you. This was something.
Just reading what's in this.
Well, I'm telling you, sir, that we have a fresh start now, which I'm very glad about. I'm hoping we can move forward in a positive fashion. And the folks up here now, not all of us were even served with Mr. Mumey, and those of us who did, we are now serving with the new folks, you and the two new commissioners. And this is, I believe, what's going to be best for the town. This is not a single person's agenda. This is what I think is best for the town. I appreciate Ms. Osborne's work on these ordinances.
A lot of people have asked me, I'm Travis Marion, I'm in charge of Parks and Recreation. A lot of people have asked me why I would be in favor of this document. And to me it comes down to I have to look out what is best for my department. And when you look at the Commissioner of Parks and Recreation, the way it is now, it doesn't really include community outreach. So I can't go out in the community and outreach with businesses or outreach with other individuals to see what they would like to see. And I would also like to say, with events, it kind of gives me that ability to sit down with people and see what kind of events they would like to have, how they would like to be involved with Parks and Rec. The way it is worded now, and frankly I've had to go through so many pages to try to figure out the exact title of Commissioner of Parks and Recreation, the exact duties of it, it doesn't really give me that duty. So that's why I'm in favor of it. So.
Regarding the form of government that Mr. Mumey mentioned in the May 8th meeting, what he was really saying was we had a new meeting format because we were going to a workshop in the first meeting of the month, and that we were going to a regular business meeting in the second meeting of the month, and that he was defining verbally the way the town operates and has for the past 5 years or more. So it's not a new form of government formed on May 8th. It was a verbalization of what's been going on for the past 5 years. Thank you.
Any further comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I too, we're voting on the
On the ordinance?
Ordinance.
Aye.
Okay, all opposed? Okay. The ayes have it, there's three to 4 and 1 against. Okay, the next order of business is an introduction of a resolution 212-8, electronic media manager. That's a new position for the town of Rising Sun.
That is on me, Mr. Mayor, and if you give me a moment, I'm going to present the board with these documents. The mayor already has a copy. You have a copy, correct?
I have it.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I have one.
I'll read it.
Before I get into the resolution, I just want to say really quickly that I ran for the office of Commissioner of Rising Sun because I wanted to have more transparent form of government. I was immediately in favor of taping these meetings, and one of the things I ran on was an updated website, an updated Facebook, and I think that this resolution is going to give me the power to be able to go and get involved in these activities directly. So I'm going to go ahead and read it, and this is what it says. Whereas the town located in Cecil County, Maryland is a municipality organized under and governed by Article 23A of the Annotated Code of Maryland, and whereas the town is proclaimed as a perpetual entity with the right to pass laws, and whereas the mayor and commissioners wish to make an organized effort to improve communications and community outreach to the citizens through the town's website and electronic media outlets, and whereas they would like to create an information technology committee and further appoint Commissioner Marion as the chair of that committee. And whereas the committee will manage and coordinate the activities and operations of the town's website and other social media outlets to include review and assess the use and performance of the town's website on a regular basis, and to institute changes on or updates necessary to make the site user-friendly. Evaluate existing information technology needs of all departments, propose recommendations to maintain and improve the quality of service, plan, coordinate, and implement improvements in service. Recommend website and social media policies for review and approval of the Board of Commissioners for the proper use of these websites and social media. Define process and policy for posting town's business on town's website and review operations in adherence to policy quarterly. Establish and review proper adherence to town online privacy and password policies quarterly, provided the training necessary. Respond to requests from citizens, groups, and organizations regarding the use of the town's website and other social media outlets. Now therefore it is resolved that the mayor and commissioners of the town of Rising Sun passed, approved, and adopted this resolution on this 24th day of July 2012. I make the motion.
Is there any discussion? Well, do I have a motion to accept it?
I second.
No, it's not.
Charlie second.
Well,
It's a second, then discussion.
okay. Any discussion? I personally don't believe it's proper to appoint yourself in a motion, a resolution. I believe that you establish the office, and then you're not going to be around forever, so it's going to change. But so I believe that the name should be left out, but that's my own opinion. Any more discussion? No? Gone once, gone twice?
I'll just quickly say, I do see your point, Mr. Mayor. I guess moving forward.
We have names on the other resolution.
Yeah, I was going to say that, right. I see.
The resolution is only until the next resolution is made that changes.
Right, a new resolution could be passed that would supersede this one. But I see your point. But I do want to thank Travis for taking the lead on this, for Commissioner Marion taking the lead on this. I actually got an email from a resident who asked, among other things, that we make sure that the names on the website be changed to reflect the new mayor and new commissioners. And I want to thank our administrative assistant, Rhonda Harmison, for making that happen like 15 minutes after I called her. She was very quick about that because it didn't happen quickly when I was elected last year. But Travis, thank you for taking the lead on this.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All for? Any opposed? Okay. The ayes have it.
Thank you, guys.
Business action, okay. Now we get to what I have to say. I was elected in past June as mayor of Rising Sun, which is a rather controversial position, as we found out. I campaigned on three main issues: cost effectiveness, collaborativeness, and transparency. Unfortunately, at the first town meeting, I was presented with two resolutions which effectively continued all previous town policies, removed the mayor from signing official papers, and an ordinance which greatly reduced my role as mayor. The worst part of these two resolutions was that they were prepared without any input from the voters or me, and were presented as emergency legislation that had to be passed immediately. What was the emergency seems to be that I was elected mayor. Part of this problem may have been my own fault. After the election and prior to taking office, I talked freely about changes I hoped would take place in the new administration. Some people may have assumed that I intended to force through changes that suited my own agenda. That is not the way it works in Rising Sun. This is a commissioner form of government with a mayor who sets the agenda and works with the commissioners to operate the town government. We are only successful if we listen to the voters and to each other as voters to come to a majority decision. Majority decisions usually mean that no one gets everything they wanted, but we move forward in direction that meets as many of the citizens' needs as possible. As many of you know, I was not in favor of our current wastewater treatment upgrades when we were planning them, which I thought were too expensive. However, since I have been installed as mayor, I've worked very hard to move the project forward. And we were 2 months in getting to the pre-construction meeting, and at the pre-construction meeting, we still didn't have the grading permit to move forward. However, since I've been installed as mayor, my goal is to implement that project as cost effectively and as quickly as possible. That means making it successful and saving money. That is what we need to do to be successful as a group. I hope that each of us can adopt that attitude as we work for the opportunities ahead of us. Starting with this meeting, we have added a new period of public comment in which the audience will have an opportunity to comment on any item on the agenda before the decision part of the meeting takes place. Hopefully, once the voters express their opinions about pending issues and commissioners can present their responses to explain why they are voting as they do. One of my three campaign issues, perhaps the most controversial point, is doing things more cost effectively. Just because we can afford to pay for something doesn't mean that we should always spend that money. Some people seem to think this is an attack on them personally. That is not true. I want to look at all our costs and see if that is the level of service Rising Sun needs and can afford. This does not mean the services aren't good or worth money, but rather they are where we want to spend our limited funds. I am open to being convinced is what the voters want to see happen. Resolution 2012-7 passed during the last meeting freezes the previous administration's list of providers and ties the hands of new administration from considering any alternatives. For example, I had proposed to review the pending water contract proposed with Chester Waterworks. If we sign that agreement, we are committing to a long-term contract to buy water at approximately 3 times the cost that water can be produced locally. I would propose hiring a geologist who is already familiar with the rising sun water situation through studies that he's made to evaluate the feasibility cost of developing additional wells locally. If such wells are viable and can be completed within the previous well drilling costs, we could produce our own water at approximately $1 per 1,000 gallons, as opposed to the Chester Waterworks price of $3.11 a 1,000 gallons. A savings of $375 a year. In my book, that's a lot of money. And with our own wells, we are not at the mercy of Chester Water if there's a Pennsylvania drought and Chester shuts off the pipeline to out-of-state customers. Tonight, I'm proposing that we start over again with a new administration. Each commissioner is newly responsible for a department, and several of these departments have pressing issues which require the town commissioners' collective decision. In all likelihood, we will continue many of these vendor contracts, but for the present, let us not block out the commissioner's option to consider alternatives as we work to resolve the real problem facing this town. Let us repeal Resolution 2003-2012-07 and withdraw Ordinance 2012-03 until such a time as the voters and the commissioners can review the contents in open meetings and decide how we collectively want Rising Sun to move forward. That was the reason for me moving the comment period by the citizens to the front of the meeting so that we could hear what was on their mind before the commissioners made a decision. I believe that this town needs to make some changes that look at the cost of what we're doing, because in the original proposal, we were going to raise the water and sewer rates 620%. I do believe that there are a lot of people in Rising Sun that cannot afford that kind of an increase in water. I had proposed 3 items for the meeting. The first is and you can read it on the agenda, is to set a date for a town hall type meeting where everybody could come express what they would like to see done for the town, whether they were satisfied with what's going on in the town or whatever. So, I think that's an essential. We serve the people. They don't serve us with their money. And we should review the town charter instead of trying to bootleg it in with resolutions and ordinances. And a commissioner had asked me that we should get the expenditures on an open contract. I asked for commissioners' response to those 3 things. Well, I see I have a lot of support.
We hired a company last fall, or we approved an expenditure last fall for a company that actually does charter work and makes the charter revisions so that they actually reflects what we do. Do we know how we're progressing with that, Calvin?
They are set to give us their first review of what they found probably in the next 2 weeks.
Thank you, so that by the next meeting, we should be able to review them possibly. Thank you. I think I'm the one who asked about expenditures on all open contracts. We agreed to, we passed a resolution to spend the money for this charter thing, and we have several other contracts in process, and yet we would like to know when we get our financial reports, what the balance is on those contracts, how much we've paid on them, so that we can gauge, where we stand, what percentage of completion that contract is. So I asked for that. Thank you.
Well, are you proposing any action on that?
My action is, my proposal is to ask Ms. Wagner to include that as either a footnote or something in the financials that we get. Thank you.
Okay. No more comments on any of those items? Then we'll move on to the monthly financial report.
I have a pretty loud voice, but not for this many numbers that I've got to say. If you turn to the red books that you have in front of you and open up to the, thank you, that will be helpful. To the first page, I'm going to explain in a little bit more detail what is in these financials, because first of all, we have a new mayor, Mayor Fisher, and 2 new commissioners. You will get, normally on a monthly basis, a red book. We try and present it the second meeting of every month, but due to M&L and other various issues, this presenting of the May financial statements have kind of been pushed and pushed and pushed. The other thing is,